So far, in the first two videos in this series, How to Find Information on Companies, we have been talking about finding information about companies that are publicly traded at a stock exchange, such as the New York Stock Exchange. Now, in this third video, we will turn our attention to private companies. Hello again, I am Dennis Miles, reference and instruction librarian at the library at Texas Wesleyan University. Here is the table of contents for this video. It tells you the time frame in the video where you can access each topic listed in the table of contents so that you can go to just the part of the video that you want to watch. In the first place, what is a private company? Private companies are entities that are owned, operated, and controlled by private individuals, partnerships, or groups of investors. Private companies do not trade shares on public markets as public companies do. 87% of all U.S. companies with greater than 100 million in revenue are private, according to Advisopedia, and less than 1% of the 27 million businesses in the U.S. are publicly traded by the major exchanges in 2013, according to Forbes. Private companies do not have to file a 10-K report with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Therefore, it is more difficult and time-consuming to find information about private companies, but not impossible. Private company information may also be available in one resource and not another. As we saw in the first video, these three library databases on this slide have company information about publicly traded companies. These three databases also contain information on private companies, but the information is often much less than for publicly traded companies. Let's briefly take a look at these three library databases to see what kind of information could be available for a private company. I am not going to show you how to access these three databases because that was covered in the How to Find Information on Companies video. Now let's take a look at Business Source Complete. I am going to use the private company H-E-B Grocery Company as my example. When I search for H-E-B in Business Source Complete Enhanced Interface, I find 464 resources, many from business magazines. However, perhaps the most important one is a market line report on H-E-B, which is great. However, if you take a look at the report, it contains no financial data on the company. The next database is Nexus Uni. We were already introduced to Nexus Uni in video 1. Nexus Uni has 240 million companies worldwide in its database, and many of them are private companies. Searching in the Nexus dossier for H-E-B, I find that H-E-B is included, but again, while it has some information on the company, the financial data is lacking, except for the annual revenue statement. However, you can also find news stories on private companies in Nexus Uni. The third database is Gale Business Insights, or just Business Insights. Gale Business Insights has 460,000 company profiles, and many of those are private companies. Searching for H-E-B, I find on the results page a lot of information about the company that is found in magazines, journals, trade journal sources, and news stories, and other information shown at the top of the page. However, if you click on companies and then click on the first company on the list, then you can find what little financial data that there is on HEB on this page. But there is more financial information than in Business Source Complete and Nexus Uni. There are organizations that rank companies by revenue or size. One of the best known company rankings is the Fortune 500, which is produced annually by Fortune magazine and ranks the top 500 American companies by revenue. There are organizations that rank private companies too. Two of those rankings are listed on the screen. Forbes' list of America's top private companies includes U.S.-based firms with revenue of $2 billion or more in the most recent fiscal year. In the Inc. list, produced by Inc. magazine, the private companies are ranked by how fast they grew in the last 3 years, and not by revenue. Here are QR codes that you can scan to access these two private company ranking lists. Here are some other ways to find information about a private company. You can go to the company website, and when you're at the company website, you can look for an About Us or a newsroom link that are usually found at the bottom of the page. Also, you can look at social media. Many private companies use social media, so looking for a private company's social media account could offer clues about the company. Finally, Wikipedia. Usually the content of Wikipedia is frowned upon in academia. However, if you are having difficulty finding anything on your company, then perhaps you can take a look, especially the citations at the end of each article in Wikipedia. This is the end of the third video. The other two videos about finding company information are listed below. Here is a QR code that you can scan that takes you to a review quiz that covers all three videos on how to find business information.